Alrighty. Hey, Greg, how are you today?
Doing great, Kaitlyn. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just to let everyone know who joins in and watches, I have Raventail horror author Greg Stumbo here with me today, and I'm very excited to get to know him a little bit more and talk about all of the fun things that he's working on over at Raventail. So, Greg, why don't we start? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Um, I'm kind of all over the board. I tried earlier on in my life to do the normal things, do the right things, get the good job and all that. And it turns out I'm not cut out for 9 to 5. Just it always held me back, and the expectations weren't result oriented, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. So I just started getting creative with the different ways that I earned a living. And being able to be a writer with Raventail has just kind of blown my world even wider open than it was before. So it's been fantastic.
That's great. And what are some different things that you do? Because I know you bartend at night, right?
Mhm.
You've
Yep.
been in a rock and roll group. I mean, tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about about all your ventures.
I spent over a decade with Tara's Fire, which is a Irish rock band, and we were up in the Great Lakes region. We played Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland, all through that. And in fact, we just did a reunion show for our agent back to St. Patrick's Day, and
Oh, that's
that
really cool.
sparked some interest because we had a spin-off band. A couple of the members, when we stopped performing, decided to keep going, so they're operating under a different name. So now they want to put together a second public show, and so they're talking about doing that later this year. Um,
That's fun.
yeah,
You must
yeah.
have a really good time with that.
Oh, I do. And I didn't. I knew that I missed it, but being able to go back there and just redo these songs and relive that lifestyle for even a weekend reminded me exactly how much I missed it. So um, I'm hoping that we're going to be doing more here in the future. So
Good.
and our former lead singer wants to put together a second project with just he and I doing a different style of music. And since he's down here in North Carolina with me, we're just trying to get our schedules together to make that happen. Just something fun to do, get up on stage again.
Really cool. Well, how did you find time to start writing? When did you start writing books?
Um, I started actually writing books, like going hard into it. I want to say 2019. Um, because it was around then that I'd gotten everything else in my life balanced and under control. And as a beach bartender, I was making a good enough living that I didn't have to have 6 jobs anymore. So I had big chunks of my day where I could just sit and go, and that's when I realized I can walk away from little stories and little things that pique my interest as a pastime and dive into actually doing something bigger. So that's when that switch got flipped.
And has it always been horror? So that's fairly recent.
Yeah, I didn't mean to be a horror writer.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've always enjoyed, horror movies. On Sundays, I used to hang out with my buddy Jeff, years and years and years ago. We had a little Sunday afternoon tradition of just watching B-rated gore flicks, right in the middle of the afternoon, drinking beer, laughing, having a good time. So I've never shied away from horror, but I've always been a bigger fan of comedy. And
Okay.
so when I sat down to write a book, I threw away all the rules of writing, and I said I'm just going to write something fun, and dove into this zombie comedy series, and it was just meant to really be a comedy with zombies kind of in the way. And that's ultimately what it came out to be. But once I got together with Raventail, so many different options available to me inside the horror genre, and so I started playing around with those and tweaking some things here and there, and found I really enjoy writing horror. The book that I've got coming up here soon. I started doing a body count and was just giddily laughing as I was going through.
I love
So
that. So Raventail kind of brought out this new side of you.
yeah, definitely.
That's great. And you already have, let's see, in the Generation Z series, you have 4 books already out, working on
Yep,
the 5th,
correct.
almost done.
No, that one's going to take a hot minute. I was set up with some other projects, and I want to get them a little bit further along and let book 4 kind of set and get into the market before I focus on too hard on book 5.
That's,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, because that series has gotten to the point to where I like to just focus on that when I'm working on it because it's so much fun and I just get immersed in the world, with those guys, and I like to do it while I'm enjoying it rather than struggle with a unseen deadline. You know.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that series, though, like what it turned into for you. You said you started out kind of with comedy with zombies, and tell me about Generation Z.
Yeah. So Generation Z is it's what happens when a group of slackers get their Dungeons and Dragons game interrupted by the end of the world. Um, these guys have no life experience, no ambition, have never done anything, and now suddenly they survive the zombie apocalypse by doing nothing. They they were afraid to go anywhere, so they stayed holed up in a 2-bedroom apartment until they realized they were running out of everything.
Yeah.
So but they managed to get through those first couple of days, and you know so just with that sheer dumb luck, they were able to go back out into the world and start trying to piece things together, and boy, do these guys think they're smart. They think they got it all figured out right up until they try and do something, and it's
I love that.
um,
I feel like you have it set up almost like it could be a Netflix show.
that's and people have talked to me. They're like, oh man, you got to get this into a movie, and I'm thinking to myself, this is better suited for a series, for
For
TV.
sure.
you
Yeah.
know I mean, it's not really episodic, but it flows. So you could pull a chunk and say that's an episode, pull another chunk, that's the next episode, because they just keep getting into trouble and squeaking their way out of it or having to run away. I mean, that happens an awful lot.
Yeah. So I actually recently just started watching Stranger Things. I know I'm very late to that, but you're kind of giving me those vibes with a group of kids, like,
Yeah,
just, or I don't know if they're kids, but yeah, it just kind of, that's why I thought Netflix series.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit. I know, we have a short time, but tell me a little bit about the other things that you have going on, because you've got Western horror, you have some sci-fi. What
Mhm.
are you working on?
Okay, so I've got a little more than a chapter kind of started, as a feeler for a Western horror series that Jeff Crawford and I are going to do. And we decided to do that. He's had a lot of experience with writing Western horrors,
Right.
and I really enjoy working with him. And we found when we did A Mutilated Mind that my lighter side of approaching horror and his darker side of approaching horror can work really well, and we can bounce off of each other.
That's
Um,
great.
so it's because he likes to really creep people out, and I like to get under people's skin and have them close the book, and then hours later go, wait a minute, do I do that? Is that me? And that's you know
Yeah.
um, I incorporate more things like a fear of loss, and self doubt. And anything psychological. If I can get inside somebody's head and noodle it around. So this Western horror is, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a lot of research, being a history buff, and I know we're not actually starting it until later this year because he's got a lot going on. I got a lot going on, but I had to start. It was just too much fun.
Good. I'm looking
Um,
forward to it.
and then the sci-fi horror. One of my favorite books is Allison. The sheer nonsense of that book,
Yeah.
and the constant hints of dangers and sidestepping everything. I, I I've always been a big sci-fi fan. I've always been a big Alice in Wonderland fan, and now I'm a horror writer. So I just put all three of those together in this book, and I went straight back to the source material. I cut out all of the other side tendrils that had been put out there, Tim Burton and, Disney, and everybody who's approached it has had their own take, and they've all been wonderful, but I wanted this to be mine. So
Yeah.
while I was writing Crossover, I'm sitting there with the sci-fi book that I'm writing open on one page and Alice in Wonderland open up on the other page, the original Lewis Carroll. So I was just drawing straight from that.
And how far along are you?
Oh, that one's done.
Oh, it's done. Is it out? Am I late to the game?
No. That's sitting with Raventail right now. We're waiting on cover art, so that'll
awesome.
I got the final edit sent back in. So any minute now. I'm so excited for that to come out.
Good. Well, I'll have to go behind the scenes and check into that for you. Give it a little push.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Well, Greg, it's been awesome talking to you and getting to know you a little bit more. I'm looking forward to the new one. All of the books that are already out can be purchased on Greg's Amazon page. So be sure to check it out. And with everything you have coming down the pipeline, I'm sure I'll be sitting down with you again.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks a lot, Kaitlyn.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.